So good evening and a very warm welcome to you all from everyone here in the Gerontology Department to this virtual open day event. My name is Elizabeth Schroeder-Butterfill and I'm the head of department in Gerontology. Just a few comments about housekeeping for this evening. So we're going to be recording this presentation and we will be sharing our slides and the recording with you after the virtual open day. So that will be in the next few days that we will send you the slides and a link to the recording. The idea is that we will run through our set of slides first and then take questions. So in order not to get sidetracked, this is the approach we will take. This means you are very much encouraged to write questions in the chat, or else just keep your questions in mind and then use the raise your hand function in Teams to ask questions at the end of our presentation. And then if anything remains unclear or we run out of time for all of the questions, then you can also email us with your questions afterwards by emailing aging@soton.ac.uk. This is what we want to cover in our presentation. We want to kind of briefly talk about why gerontology is such an important topic. Then we'll give a brief introduction to the Department of Gerontology in the University of Southampton. And then we'll proceed to give you an overview of our postgraduate programs and a flavor of what studying with us looks like. We will highlight the exceptionally good student support that we provide to students whilst they are studying with us, and touch on the employability support that we give and provide information about the destinations that our alumni have gone on to give you a kind of vision of where a gerontology degree might take you in the future. We'll also cover some information about fees and sources of funding, and then point you to sources of further information at the end. So, what is gerontology? Gerontology is the scientific study of the social, economic, psychological, and cultural aspects of aging. Gerontology is interested both in individual level changes as people get older, and in how societies change and adapt to population aging. It typically has a strong policy focus. Gerontology is also a highly interdisciplinary field of study. For example, faculty members in the Gerontology Department have backgrounds in economics and social policy, demography, psychology, sociology, and social anthropology. Population aging is very much a global phenomenon and one that will dramatically shape the future of our societies. In the UK, there are already more older people than children, whereas countries of the global south, for example, India shown here, are very rapidly undergoing the transition to an aging population. Now, population aging creates fundamental challenges, but also opportunities. For example, how can long-term care be shared between families, communities, the market, and the state to make it sustainable, fair, and of good quality? What behaviors over the life course contribute to healthy aging? How can marketing, housing, technology, and service provision best target and support the growing older population? How can inequalities in pensions and material resources in later life be reduced? We believe that a qualification in gerontology equips you to develop creative and well-informed solutions to these questions. Why should you specifically choose Southampton for your future studies? Well, firstly, we are the only gerontology department in the UK, and this means that we have a critical mass of scholars, teachers and PhD students to create a vibrant environment for you to study in. Our postgraduate teaching is very much research-led, and teaching staff are embedded in the world-class Centre for Research on Ageing. Our research ranked 5th in the UK in the last National Assessment of Research Quality, called the REP 2021. Teaching staff are actively involved in interdisciplinary and international funded research projects which develop real-world impact. And very often this real-world impact is achieved by working very closely together with charities and other stakeholders. So whether that's Age UK, Help Age International, or the Department of Work and Pensions in the UK. The University of Southampton prides itself on being among the top 100 universities globally. It's also a founding member of the Russell Group, which is an organisation or a grouping of the UK's leading research active universities. What makes Southampton distinctive is a strong commitment to interdisciplinary research, to always having an eye on innovation and enterprise rather than thinking of ourselves as doing research in an ivory tower. We have a diverse community of students and staff from all across the world, and the university is strongly committed to widening participation so that people across the world and from different walks of life have access to an education here. And we also have a strong focus on creating environmental sustainability. Let me hand over now to Dr. Ros Willis to talk a bit more about our programs.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and welcome everyone to our open day. As Elizabeth said, my name's Ros Willis. I'm the head of teaching for the department. Next slide, please. So why should you come and study with us? Well, all of our programs here in gerontology are taught by people who are currently active in research in ageing. So we as a department are world-leading experts in our subjects. And as Elizabeth said, it's a Russell Group university, so it's a research-intensive university. And that means all of our research feeds into our teaching. So you will hear examples from our own research when we're teaching you about gerontology, but also our research methods training as well. So we do extremely rigorous qualitative and quantitative mixed methods and policy analysis training as well. On top of that, we use a variety of assessment forms. So we have a continuous assessment policy. So you will have assignments throughout the year, but we do not use exams. And the assessments that we use will teach you different skills. So you don't only demonstrate knowledge in gerontology and research methods, but you also demonstrate your critical thinking skills and your policy analysis skills, your communication skills, presentation skills, and so on. And these are all transferable for future environment. Elizabeth? Thank you. So in terms of our master's programs, we have 4 master's programs here in gerontology. So 2 of them are based at the University of Southampton, and 2 of them are distance learning programs. So the ones at Southampton are the Masters in Gerontology and the Masters in Gerontology Research. The research one differs because it has more research methods modules than the MSc Gerontology program. The distance learning programs are entirely online. So we have a Masters in Gerontology distance learning that is actually exactly the same as the Masters in Gerontology at Highfield. So it's the same modules, the same lectures, the same assignments. It's just that we deliver it online, so many people around the world have access. And we also have a Masters in Global Ageing and Policy distance learning, and this one has a greater emphasis on the Global South, so more of the examples are from different countries around the world, and also on policy analysis. If you're studying for full-time with us, it will be a 1-year course, so from September to the following September, and that's for a master's. And then if you want to study part-time, it actually takes 27 months. So you study from September to September, and then again September to September, and then you submit your dissertation the following December. Next slide, please. So if you don't want to commit to a full master's, we have some shorter programs that are available to you. So we have the postgraduate certificate in gerontology or global aging and policy, and this involves 4 modules, whereas the full master's would be 8 modules plus the dissertation. We also have a postgraduate diploma, which is available online only, and this has 8 modules. And the difference between this and the master's is you don't do the dissertation component. And we have short courses in gerontology, which is just 1 module. And this would be ideal for you if you're not entirely sure if this is the subject for you, but you want to take 1 module as a taster, and then you can build up later on. So you can carry over the credit earned from your 1 module into the full master's, so your investment is not wasted. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the example structure of the Masters in Gerontology, and as I said, it's the same for whether it's on campus or distance learning, just that the mode of study would be different. So you will have 8 modules, and there are 4 compulsory modules, and then you can choose 4 optional modules. So you can see the compulsory modules are Perspectives in Gerontology, Researching Aging Societies, and Qualitative Methods 1 and 2. And then you have a choice of the other modules you would like to take. So you may choose to specialize in research methods, take statistics, perhaps, and mixed methods, or you may be interested in health and take mental health and aging health and well-being. If you're doing a full-time program, you will take your 8 modules over the 2 semesters between September and May, and then between June and September, you'll be doing your dissertation. So that's your supervised research project on a subject that you choose. If you're a part-time student, your modules will take place over either 4 or even 6 semesters, depending on the amount of time you want to devote to your study on a given week. And then you have 6 months for your dissertation. Next slide, please. This is just to show the difference, which is the MSc in Global Aging and Policy. And you can see here the structure is similar, but the module choices are different. So here we have Global Perspectives in Gerontology and Policy Evaluation for Aging Societies, as well as the 2 Qualitative Methods modules being compulsory. And then you might want to specialize in certain regions of the world. So we have an Aging in Africa module, an Aging in China, South Asia and Southeast Asia module as well. Next slide, please. So students choose the topic for their dissertation that is of most interest to them. So here's some examples of recent dissertations that our students have chosen to do. So for example, somebody was interested in understanding livelihoods of older people in developing countries. We also had people interested in housing, so downsizing and housing transition in later life. And then we have many students who are interested in health or social care. So we have subjects to do with dementia, informal care, mental health, and the role of care home managers in reducing barriers to care for older people living with HIV/AIDS. And next slide, please. And many of our students actually go on to publish the research from their dissertations. So this is just a few examples of our successful students. Now I think I'm handing over to Christoph.
Hi everyone, my name is Christoph Häuser and I'm the senior tutor in the department. So what does studying look like? So depending on if you are on campus or study from distance, you will have different experiences. So on campus, students will have a weekly timetable with classroom seminars and lectures. You also have coursework deadlines, but no classic exams, is what already said. And this is the same for distance learning and for on-campus students. As a distance learning student, you won't have a timetable, but be able to organize your study more independently. And you will have access to pre-recorded lectures and will read published literature online. Although you work on your own time, you will still have the opportunity to network with fellow students via online tutorials, discussion boards, or informally via WhatsApp groups or similar. Next, please. So regardless of distance learning or on-campus program, it would be expected that you roughly spend about 30 to 40 hours per week for the full-time program and about 15 to 20 hours per week for part-time. Between June and September and between June and December for part-time is a dedicated time where you will work on under supervision on your dissertation. For this, you will have access to method-specific software and training opportunities. And another important aspect is your personal academic tutor or your PAT. And I will say a bit more about it in a moment. And I think I will give it back to Ross.
Right, thank you. So that was all about our postgraduate taught programs. I'm now going to move on to postgraduate research programs, in other words, the PhD and the integrated PhD. So these are the two doctoral programs that we have in the department, and these are for people who want to specialise on a research project for 3 to 4 years if it's full-time or 4 to 7 years if it's part-time. These have to take place on campus at Highfield. This is an on-campus only programme. However, we do have in the pipeline applications to create a distance learning version of the PhD. We think this will be available from 25-26 onwards, but we have to go through all the processes of having it approved. The integrated PhD is different because it has a lot of modules at the beginning. So you would take the same modules as the Masters in Gerontology in your first year, and therefore you would build up your substantive knowledge in gerontology and in research methods appropriate to aging in year 1. And this is appropriate if you're coming from a discipline that's actually very, very different from gerontology or social sciences, and you need that additional training at the beginning. Next slide, please. So the PhD is actually a lot less structured than taught masters, so you don't have timetable lectures unless you're doing the integrated pathway, but you do have set milestones. So you will have, for example, monthly supervision meetings with your supervisory team. You have things that you're expected to achieve within the first 3 months, and then you have annual reviews, and then we have lots of activities and training going on throughout the year. So you will be doing a lot, engaging with other students, engaging with staff, attending events, having the opportunity to present your research, the opportunity to win prizes as well, and there's funding available to attend external conferences or training. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to move on to the various entry requirements of our programs and let you know how to apply. So this flowchart is just a bit of background information. I'm not going to go through it, but you will have the slides afterwards if you want to go through it in your own time. So next slide, please. Okay, so for the masters, because gerontology is such an interdisciplinary subject, we accept students with a whole range of different undergraduate disciplinary backgrounds. So, for example, you may have a bachelor's in sociology, a bachelor's in business studies or psychology or even engineering. All of these have come to us. So please apply. Your background discipline is not a barrier. Our entry requirements are for a 2-1 degree or equivalent. So depending on what country you come from, your degree may be in a different category, like a GPA or something like that. But part of our admissions process is to work out the equivalence level. And we also have English language qualifications that international students would need to have. So the IELTS is on this slide, but on our website it also mentions the other qualifications that we accept. So we do have a closing date for applications. So there is a deadline you need to bear in mind, which is the 3rd of July 2024. Okay, next slide, please. So for the PhD, you again need to have a 2-1 bachelor's degree or equivalent, but you also need to have a master's as well. And that master's needs to be at the merit level. and the merit is 60 to 69% at a UK level in masters. And you also need to have an interview for the PhD, different from the master's application, and the English language as well. Now, we don't have a specific closing date for the PhD applications, so please do get in touch and speak to us about them. But there are some scholarship schemes that have specific closing dates. So some of them have closing dates in the autumn for the entry the following year. Some of them have closing dates around January, February for entry the following year. So this is the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about at least a year in advance. Okay, and yep, next slide, please. Yes, so to apply, please go on to our website, and if you click on the program that you're interested in, the example here is the Gerontology Masters, you'll see that there's a blue button that says apply for this course, and all you need to do is click on that, and that will start the process. Okay, and now I'm handing over to Christoph again.
Thank you, Ross. So in Southampton, we have a wide variety of very useful student support, and student support covers for study skills to well-being and everything in between. Next slide, please. So as a student in our department, you will be assigned to your personal academic tutor, or we call it your PAT. They will support you throughout the study, and even when you are finished, so for example, writing you a recommendation letter, they will help you to develop critical thinking skills, provide you feedback on assignments, and can offer you pastoral or academical advice. Our staff in the department have received multiple awards for teaching and hold recognition from the Higher Education Academy. And as a student, you have also access to the well-being service around the clock. And we also have a dedicated student disability and inclusion team. Next slide, please. Another important support I already briefly mentioned is the study skills and study support. We have many opportunities for you to improve your study skills. So we offer specialized and tailored sessions for reading, writing, and presentation skills, but also additionally, the library offers a wide variety of resources. Next one, please. And every year, we see that our approach is very successful, which you can see in our module evaluation. Thank you. Now I give this to Eloy.
Thank you, Christoph. Handing over to Eloy. Thank you.
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Eloy Ribe. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Gerontology, and I will be offering you a bit of a scope into the employability prospects that you're expected to achieve if you study with us. So the University of Southampton has an excellent record of employability. It sits in the top 15 of UK institutions for employability, and in fact 97% are employment or further study. So what it makes our programs such special is that we combine the quality learning with real world experience, which is very much appreciated in the labor market. And we have a series of excellent support services for you to thrive in the labor market. Next, please. So these are some of the services that we offer at the University of Southampton. So we guide you through one-on-one sessions. So there are career advisors that are very much experienced on that field, but there are also professional development opportunities, resources, online resources such as CV 360 and Interview 360. So these are tools that you can use to improve and make your CV look very strong and appealing to employers, but also you can benefit from work experience programs as well as a mentoring scheme to connect with experienced professionals. So you get ongoing with your social connections, and something that will be very appreciated to find a job. Next, please. There are a wide variety of destinations when you finish studying with us. There are things such as research and analysis, so in academic, but also in the private sector, government departments, NGOs, but things as well as product and service design or medicine or related health services. Next. Here are some examples of alumni and their destination. So we have a social practitioner or social worker in a local council, but also someone in a government office, the Ministry of Public Health in Thailand, or as I said, someone that is or has recently, been accepted to a doctoral program in Calgary. Next. There are, as said, a wide variety of careers that you can pursue having done gerontology with us. Here are some examples, and on the link on your own time, you can click in there, and then there'll be more information on each of these possible careers or career paths. Next. Here, finally, there are some of the testimonials, again, of recent graduates, just thanking. So in your own time, just read what the journey has been and what they're doing at the moment. Thank you. I'll pass it next to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Aloy. Thank you very much. So I will now touch briefly on fees and funding. So this table here shows the tuition fees for the coming academic year. It distinguishes between UK students and international students. Now, we recognize that it is a big investment that you would be making in your studies, both in terms of time, but also in terms of money. The good news is that there are also a range of funding opportunities available for you that you can apply for. Some of them are applied automatically. So, for example, if you are a University of Southampton alumni, then you automatically get a 10% discount. So, for example, master students who come back and study for a PhD with us. Similarly, if you apply for our postgraduate tour programs and you have a first-class undergraduate degree in the past, that will automatically entitle you to the international scholarship of £3,000. Other scholarships are very competitive, but certainly we have a track record of our students winning these, like the Presidential International Scholarship. And then depending on your nationality, there might be other funding opportunities available. So we always recommend students to have a look on this website here, which lists a whole range of scholarship opportunities depending on people's nationality. But we also always recommend that students kind of look at their end from the country that they're applying for, whether their governments, for example, offer scholarships that they might be able to apply for. Just like on the taught programs, there are funding opportunities for PhD students. So again, we have the presidential scholarships, but also very significant for gerontologists are the ESRC South Coast Doctoral Training Partnership scholarships that are advertised on an annual basis. They're highly competitive, but if you get them, then it covers your fees for 3 or more years and also a living stipend. So again, there are, depending on your individual circumstances, your background, where you're coming from, there are other opportunities for you to apply for. So the links here are there to help you on your search. Okay, this really brings us to the end of the presentation part. So if you want to hear more about the master's program or the short courses, the certificate programs, then drop Professor Vlachantoni an email. She's our admissions tutor. Similarly, if you're particularly interested in discussing the PhD options, then Professor Evandru is the doctoral program director. And we very much recommend that you try, if you are on LinkedIn, consider following us on LinkedIn, because as scholarship opportunities, for example, come up, we will definitely post them on there, and keep an eye on our website. But I will now stop sharing and open the floor for questions from the audience. So welcome again to everybody who's joined us today. Please put up your hand if you have a question.